I just wanted to talk about some of the books I read in January and February, even though it's already like the middle of March basically. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about them because I don't have anyone else to talk. No one will listen to me. No one will listen to me. I didn't read too much just because I'm pretty busy right now. I did manage to get through some books. I did want to talk about the ones I did read because the ones I did read, a lot of them were pretty good. Some were pretty trash, but for the most part they were pretty good. The way I'm gonna rate my books is I don't like the 5-star system. I think it's a little weird. I don't really like the quarter star, half star. I don't like breaking up the stars. So I'm going to use letter grades. Even though I guess if you calculate it, you can still get the same thing either way. But I don't want to do the math. If you're unfamiliar with the letter grade system, I'll put something right here. If I figure out how to edit it in, probably with iMovie. In case I can't, it's basically A's at the top, then B's, and then C's, and then D's. And then if the book is absolute trash, it's getting an F. No bueno. It's just getting an F. I am now the professor. I am the teacher. I am in charge. I actually have the books on my phone. So I'm going to look at my notes that I took. Make it sound really serious, but the notes are like really not that deep. I'm not too critical, I don't think. It's mainly about the vibes. I started off January finishing the Green Bone Saga, so I read Jade War, Jade Legacy, the Jade Center of Janloon, and Jade Shards. So this series, there's one main trilogy and then 2 novellas. So the last 2 are the 2 novellas that are like just short stories. I'm not gonna talk about Jade City. I actually read that in December. This is a January-February wrap-up, so oops. Alright, so the series takes place on this island called Kekon. It's a post-colonial island that's inspired by Asia. And basically in this universe, jade is a very rare naturally occurring substance that's only found on this island. And there's specific people that can wear jade. They're called the green bones. If they wear jade, like the jade gives them like these superpowers basically. So jade's a really coveted substance. And the more jade you wear, the more like power you have kind of. And Kekon has like an official government, but everyone knows that like true power lies with like the clans that have their own like internal politics. That's really interesting. The series basically follows the Call family, which is like the head family of the second largest clan in the country, called the Nopi clan. Basically the series is about like the beef between the Nopi clan and the largest clan called the Mountain clan. So they're like, you know, fighting for dominance, fighting for influence basically. And amidst that like internal struggle between the clans, outside powers are trying to gain influence over Kekon because they want access to their jade. So I started off January with Jade War, which is book 2 of the trilogy, and I gave that a B. Okay, I was a little let down with Jade War because everyone that I saw talking about it online, they're like, oh my god, it gets so much better than Jade City. Like, just you wait. You have to read book 2. It's gonna be so much better. It's so good. I liked Jade City a lot better. That was actually my favorite of the books. But yeah, I was a little let down by Jade War, and I honestly don't really remember too much about what actually happens in Jade War. Then I read Jade Legacy, which is the last book in the Green Bone Saga trilogy. The thing with Jade War and Jade Legacy that made me like it a little less than Jade City is that the pacing is really weird. There are like a lot of weird time jumps, time skips, and I think Jade Legacy is a little less confusing because they like preface it by saying like this many years later, whatever. But Jade War was really confused. I had no idea what was going on. I was just like nodding along, you know, just I was there for the ride. It was a fun ride. The reason I gave Jade Legacy a slightly higher grade than Jade War is because of this one really tense moment in the middle of it. I won't go into the details of what happened, but I was like, oh, it could really go either way. And I thought that was really well done. I thought the tension was really good. So that's why, again, it's like more memorable than Jade War. Like, what happened in Jade War? Truly, what happened? I don't know. I have in my notes that cried at one character's death in Jade Legacy, and I would cry again. But it was just so, oh my god. I actually cried so much. It was actually so embarrassing. Oh, that being said, I thought the ending was a little unnecessary. I kind of knew what would happen just based on what people were saying and raving about how the ending is just so good. Like, it completes a character arc so well. I thought it was very unnecessary, but that's just me. I also wish we followed the main character's daughter a little more. Like, we followed the sons a bit, but I don't know, I just thought the daughter was like more of an interesting character. Okay, that's not true. I don't know, I just think it would have been interesting to see all three of the kids equally. The thing with Jade Legacy is that it spans for like 20 years. It spans so long. I think the entire trilogy spans like almost 30 years. So you see like the next generation. And like low-key I could have done without that because I wasn't really invested in them. I will say one thing that did disappoint me with Jade Legacy was that there was one couple I was waiting for. This might be spoilers. So, spoiler, don't watch. But basically, if you read the series, I was expecting Andon and Lot to get together. I was rooting for it to happen, and it didn't happen. Like, I saw a review prior to reading Jade Legacy, and the person was like, oh, I'm so upset that Andon and Lot didn't get together. And in my delusional mind, I was like, there's no way that reviewer finished the book. There's just no way. I was expecting there to be an edit in that review being like, JK, they actually do get together. But they didn't. And that really upset me. I was waiting for it. I was really holding out to like the last chapter. I really was. I was like, something's gonna happen. And they're gonna get together. Because they need to get together. But they didn't. So that's really upsetting. That was honestly my biggest gripe with the series. It's like, why didn't they end up together? So after Jade War and Jade Legacy, I read the two novellas in the Greenbone Saga. So the first one's called The Jade Setter of Janloon. I gave it a B-. It wasn't bad. I don't remember what it's about. I just had a good time just because I like Von Lee's writing. And I really only read it for the cameos of like the main characters in the main trilogy, which is really fun. Otherwise it was like, I wasn't like too invested. And after that, I read Jade Shards, which is like another novella that's like a compilation of short stories. And I also gave that a B-. I really liked the one from Lon's perspective, where they like decide to bring Andon into the family. So like that was really nice to see him again. But there was one with like Gwen and Hilo's like love story, and like when they first met, I don't know what it is. I know people like Gwen, but like I don't. I feel bad for her just because of like everything that happens to her, but like I don't know, she's just not likable to me. Like every time we get more of Gwen, the less I like her. So I don't know. So yeah, that's the Greenbone Saga. Overall, I think the series is great. I know some people don't like the Greenbone Saga because they're like, it's just like The Godfather. And like, I haven't watched The Godfather, you know? So like, that criticism means nothing to me. Like, I mean, it sounds great if it's anything like the Greenbone Saga. So yeah, I highly recommend it. But after finishing the Greenbone Saga, this is still January, I read... Oh, this is so embarrassing. Oh my god, why did I read this? I read a book called And the Hippos Were Boiled in Their Tanks by Jack Kerouac and William S. Burroughs. I gave it a D-. Literally the only reason I didn't give it an F is because, well, I only read it because I watched Kill Your Darlings. It's the movie with Daniel Radcliffe. I really liked the movie. Like, I loved the aesthetic. I loved like the wardrobe, the vibes were there. And I literally only read Hippos because the events that inspired Kill Your Darlings also inspired Hippos, and I could not tell you what that book was about. Like, I can't even tell you what Kill Your Darlings was about, really. I was just there for the vibes. And I thought that the book would also have like the same vibes, and those vibes were not present. I was really disappointed. No, but it was actually so boring. Like, I thought that we would actually get into like the murder that happens, but it's just like so glossed over, and I'm just like, well, why did I read this? I thought I was gonna get something. I know it's like supposed to be about the Beat Generation. I don't know what that is. I literally only read it because of the vibes of the movie. So that's on me. But it was really boring. It was so boring. I was like, this is so dull. I don't want to read this. But I just pushed through because I was like, maybe it'll get juicier at the end when it gets to the actual murder. And it didn't. That was low-key a waste of time. Again, D-. Okay, so the last book that I read in January is Slade House by David Mitchell. Basically, in this book, there's this alley, and every so often, a door appears. And everyone who's gone through that door has never come out. So there's like a mystery. Okay, I initially gave this book a C- because it started off like promising, but it just... It got so unserious at the end. I was like, what is this? Like, why is this turning into like a comedy? You know? Like, not even like, I get what they were trying to do. Like dark humor. Cause like when the twins were like bickering, I was like, this feels really out of place. But it just got so unserious. I was like, what's going on here? This book also just had like the biggest info dump ever to like explain the mystery of this door. And I just think there has to have been a better way to like explain it instead of like detailing the history of these two twins that are like operating this whatever it is, you know? I will say though, I did end up eventually moving it up a grade from a C- to a C, because while it wasn't scary, I will say for some reason at night, and only when I'm in bed, I think about this book. And then I freak myself out about it. And I don't know why, but I mean, I guess that means I think about it, you know, like it made an impression. That's the only reason I moved up the grade to a C. So Slade House C. And that's all the books I read in January. In February, I only read 2 books. The first one was The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. It's a horror book about this woman whose husband dies like shortly after they get married, and she like moves into one of his like houses or whatever, and there are these like freaky ass things called companions. They're like wooden paintings of people basically, and like as you expect from a horror novel, they start moving. They have a life of their own, you know. I ended up giving it a B because it was promising from the start, but I just feel like there was so much potential for this book to be so creepy and actually terrifying, and it just didn't live up to that. Like, it didn't get as goofy as Slade House, but I was like, I'm not scared, and I kind of want to be scared. I will say the ending was pretty good just because of how bleak it was. That's so stupid, but spoilers. So I completely missed the part about the main character's younger brother actually being her son that she had with her dad, because her dad was terrible. That completely went over my head. I feel like it was, looking back, it was pretty obvious, but when I read, I'm just so smooth-brained. So like, I learned this through Reddit and then through Goodreads. So I did not catch that, but I thought that was interesting. So that's The Silent Companions. Little bit disappointing. Also has a very slow start. Okay, and the last book that I read in February was actually a reread, and it was the book Caraval by Stephanie Garber. So this is the first book of the Caraval trilogy. We follow 2 sisters, Scarlett and Tella, and they're running away from their dad, who's like abusive and also wears a lot of purple. So they run away to play this magical game called Caraval, and Tella goes missing. And the goal of the game is to find Tella, and Scarlett's like, well, I gotta find my sister. So she plays to find her sister. The whole premise of Caraval is that like, oh, you have to remember, it's all just a game. And a lot of this like, is it really just a game? So I gave Caraval a B+. The reason why Caraval isn't getting too high of a grade, I mean, the B+ isn't too bad, you know, you're still passing. But I just don't really care for Scarlett. Like, why is she so obsessed with her fiance that she's literally never met? Like, what's going on there? Like, stop. There's a beautiful boy there waiting for you. You have options. That was kind of annoying. But other than that, it's like a fun ride. It's not too serious. That's how I like my books. Nothing too deep. Always there for a good time. Okay, I think that's it. That's all the books I read in January and February. 8 in total. Not too shabby. We'll see about March. This was so stressful. It was kind of fun to talk. Hopefully I'll get to ramble more about book-related stuff in the future. I think that's it for today.